I saw this story today, and I thought we absolutely have to get to this. First of all, I'm really thankful to know, and if you travel, you don't use the ArriveCAN app anymore, right? You don't need to. But remember the ArriveCAN app, the one the government launched during the pandemic as a screening tool to ensure that travelers arriving in Canada complied with pandemic measures, border measures, and that included, by the way, Canadians traveling back from wherever you happen to be, remember? And then if you got to do it, you get to the airport, they'd make you do it there, and then it ended up being kind of buggy, and it didn't work all the time. And then you had people who, because they didn't know it had to be done, ended up staying in hotels because they couldn't prove that. You remember all that, right? But that was just the beginning. It got to be a much better story when we discovered after the fact how much it cost to develop this app. Do you remember that story? Into the millions that the government spent, $54 million. That's taxpayer dollars to develop this app that didn't really work all that well. And then the story started coming out about who the government chose to get it done. And then some 12-year-old kid in a basement somewhere said, I could have done that for like $5,000. Well, that was then, and this is now. And now Franco Terrazano, who's federal director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, is going to reveal another interesting part of this that has to do with money. So, Franco, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
I didn't misstate anything there, right? That's what it ended up costing taxpayers to develop this thing at the end of the day was $54 million?
Oh, yeah. Well, let me just do a little recap. Hey, a little timeline for taxpayers on the cost, okay? So the ArriveCAN app, it was initially launched in April 2020 with a price tag of $80,000. Then, July 2022, the government said that the cost jumped to $26 million. A couple months later, October 2022, taxpayers finally learned that the actual cost of the app was $54 million, right? And I love your little quip off the top. This sparked outrage in Canada's tech industry that you had two independent techies recreate the app. I believe it was over the long weekend, The Thanksgiving weekend. They recreated the app. One tech expert suggested that this simple app should have cost about $250,000 in development costs. Right, so this was a huge boondoggle, starting from $80K in April 2020 and ending up soaking taxpayers for like $54 million at the end of the day.
But as they say, wait, there's more.
Yeah, it only gets worse for taxpayers here, right? Because looking back, the obvious question is, okay, a lot of people here messed up. Who's going to be held accountable? Right? Well, it turns out it doesn't look like too many people are getting accountable. We got some hot off the press government documents showing that there were 8 executives within one of the federal departments, the Public Health Agency of Canada. There was 8 executives in that one department that was associated with the ArriveCAN app. And those 8 executives, there were $342,000 in bonuses paid out to the executives over the 2 years that this app was going on. So $342,000 in taxpayer-funded bonuses that went to executives in one way or another that were working on or overseeing the ArriveCAN app.
I just want that to sink in for a second to people listening. So you have an ArriveCAN app that, if we can best describe it, was buggy at the best of times, which was supposed to cost $80,000 at the outset, but ended up costing Canadian taxpayers $54 million by the time it was done. And now you find out that those executives or people within the government responsible for this development got bonuses for having developed this wonderful program.
Yeah,
wow.
$342,000 worth of bonuses. And hey, wait, it gets worse. It gets worse than this, right? Because that was only one of the federal departments that was involved in the ArriveCAN. There was at least 2 others that had to do with the ArriveCAN. There was the Canada Border Services Agency, and there was the Public Services and Procurement Canada. Now, one way or another, those departments were also involved, but both of those departments refused to release how much, if any, were paid out in bonuses to executives in those departments.
Oh.
So what we know so far is that there was at least one federal department that had executives working on this or overseeing the ArriveCAN app, and that the bonuses to these executives cost taxpayers more than $340,000.
So obviously someone is going to have or make an issue with this or, kind of make some hay with it. I'm guessing someone could be like, Pierre Poilievre. But in terms of the ramifications here, this is not a new story. This bonus part is a new story because you now have access to this information. Did anything ever come of this? Did someone lose a job somewhere?
Well, that's a good question. I have seen the Globe. So the Globe reported last month right, that the federal government has suspended 2 individuals without pay in connection with the CBSA's review of misconduct allegations. Now, this is more of a broader issue when it comes to all of these subcontracting issues. So there has been a couple people at least looking like they're going to be held accountable. But, I mean, there's many more people, like government executives, that are involved in this. They should be getting a bonus. Now, maybe there's pushback, right? Maybe let me play devil's advocate to myself. Okay, you might say, well, look, a government executive is involved with a whole bunch of different stuff on their portfolio, right? Not just overseeing ArriveCAN. But, like, at the end of the day, I don't care how good any of my other work has been over the course of the year. If I end up costing my company $54 million and it becomes a national scandal, it doesn't matter how good any of my other work is. Yeah. There is no way I'm getting a bonus. I'm going to have to start polishing off my resume.
And from what we know, I mean, this is early in the story again, but we don't know that that's going to happen. Has anyone said anything since these figures became public?
I haven't seen anyone just yet. I haven't seen any of the politicians. I mean, this story literally just broke a couple of hours ago, yeah. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But, like, this is a chronic problem within the government, right? That bonuses within the federal government are more like participation awards rather than actual bonuses that you, me, or anyone in the private sector may be familiar with, right? Because the feds have handed out like more than $1 billion in bonuses since 2015, despite their own records showing that departments are failing to meet half of their own performance targets essentially every year. You have Crown corporations doing the same thing. The Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, for example, according to their own website, they're there for the overarching objective of housing affordability for all. Well, over the last 3 years, so many Canadians have given up on ever owning a home, yet over those 3 years, they also handed out $75 million in bonuses. Yeah. So this is a huge issue when it comes to the ArriveCAN and the lack of accountability, but really this is a huge issue across the entire federal government.
Well, thank you for bringing it up, and thanks for reminding people just what a mess this thing turned out to be. By the way, I should mention, someone just texting in, the ArriveCAN app still exists. Now, obviously, you don't have to prove vaccination status, I guess, but it's still out there and still available as an app on your phone, right?
Well, I wonder how much it's going to cost. That reminds me, I should go file an ATIP right after I get off the phone and figure out how much, if anything, it's still costing taxpayers.
Franco Terrazano from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Franco, thanks for the time as always. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you so much.
There you go. Look, I don't know what to say, except I remember this story at the time. Remember, we were all busy filling out the ArriveCAN app when you were coming back from somewhere to prove that you could be let back into the country. And then to find out, I forgot how little the government said this originally was going to cost, which was, he said, I think $80,000. And at the end of the day, this app, which doesn't cost a whole lot. I mean, not that $80,000 is cheap, but when 2 developers over a weekend, once this story broke, said, yeah, we could come up with this. Could take us 2-3 days, be like 150 grand. What did the government spend? It's sinful to even say $54 million to develop this app. Welcome to politics. Wow. At least, hopefully, this idea of the bonus is $342,000 being paid out in bonuses for this garbagey app. Maybe someone pays attention. Maybe someone's head's going to roll on this because that's really disgusting. But there you go.